I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. Why should the work stop so I can come down to you? These are the words of Nehemiah as he built the walls fortifying Jerusalem over 2,000 years ago, as told in the book of Nehemiah in the Bible. Today we see, just as it was back then, that Jerusalem is the source of heavy conflict in the Middle East, with multiple groups of people vying for control over the ancient city, and global powers weighing in on the conflicts that have been brewing over centuries. Join us as we delve into the mystifying history of Jerusalem and Israel, exploring the ongoing struggles and complexities that have shaped this ancient area for over 2,000 years. Through riveting discussions, we unravel the mysteries surrounding Israel's pivotal role in global affairs, its significance in the Abrahamic faiths, and the intricate web of U.S. foreign policy in the broader Middle East. Get ready to expand your understanding of one of the most misunderstood regions on Earth, here on the Great Work Podcast. All right, Lilaq, welcome to the Great Work Podcast. So I know a ton of people are huge fans of yours on TikTok. I know a lot of people who follow me like to follow you. So I wanted to introduce you, talking a little bit about your background and your story. So if you want to introduce yourself a little bit, tell us all about you.
I'm Lilaq. I'm 24 years old. I'm in the military. It's not the same as being in the mandatory because I finished my mandatory in 20. I came back actually to the military in August to actually make a military career. And, October happened. So came exactly on that same thing. I've always wanted to spend my life in the military, so I always worked towards that. I work in the logistics here in the Air Force. So what else you want to
do? Can you talk about where you grew up, your family background? You're Jewish, right?
No, my father's Jewish. My mom's not Jewish. I have two brothers, one sister. I was raised by my grandma. They were raised by my mom. They were raised in New York. I was born and raised here in Israel. I was in an all-black school here in Israel, which is weird. No one really knows that there's an all-black school here. I was always different because of me being half white and half Jewish, but I've always felt a strong love and connection to my country. And that actually helped me in a lot of things in my life. I always gave back. I remember at a young age going and helping old people or children and stuff like that. I did a pre-military course that actually got me ready for the military. It got me ready for the world, basically, because my community, the community I come from, is an African-American community. We believe in the Bible just like the Jews. So it got me ready to leave out of the loop I was born and raised in, which was also why my Hebrew is as good as my English. I joined the military in 2000 to be a commander in basic training. And a little after my basic training, I left the course because of personal reasons. My closest friend tried to kill himself. So yeah, it's okay. He tried. It didn't work. But yeah, so I left that and got into logistics. I was always one, I love to learn. I love new things. So I always pushed for better, and I made it because I wasn't really connected to my family. I was a lone soldier here in the military. So I promised myself once I really got to a situation where I felt like I had a family in the military, I promised myself that one day I will return, and that's what I did. 3 years later, but I did. My Jewish grandmother, in 2016, her and my grandfather went to Turkey, Istanbul, and they were part of a suicide bombing. My grandma died in a suicide bombing. My grandfather was injured. And that's one of the reasons why I do take what I do very serious, and I take it really personal, because a lot of people have been attacking me on internet about the fact that I am Black, and me as a Black woman standing up for oppressors. One, obviously we know that that's not true. And two, if anyone has the right to be angry or to feel a certain type of way, it's me, because I went through it personally. And that's something that I don't always openly talk about, and it's not anything I have to prove. I don't have to try to fight for my right to speak as a Black woman. And that's why I don't talk about it as much. But I also, in 2021, was on a bus that they started throwing rocks at, and broke down our whole bus trying to attack us. So it's like, me personally, I do take it very, very personal. It's hard for me in this situation. I have a friend that's still held captive in Gaza. He was actually in the pre-military course with me, the one I talked about. So he was kidnapped. He was shot twice before they took him. Like, that was the last message we got, was that he was shot twice. And it's just hard every day, getting another message or another post, hearing about someone who either died or someone who was returning, and then the people are not. So it is frustrating being here. It's even more frustrating being on base, because when it all started, I know that my job is very important. So I knew that I was going to be called. I was literally at home. I had like a sleepover with my little sister, and we started hearing like loud noises, like booms from the, but it wasn't in our city. And that's why we didn't have sirens. It was like near our city. And I remember talking to my sister, and I'm like, why aren't we having sirens? Like, why can't we hear it? And it was at 6:30 in the morning. And I woke up and I'm like, why don't we have sirens? And as I was about to call someone who would know about that situation, um, the sirens started. And I have a friend that was actually at our house for the first holiday. Jews know that that was Sukkot Bet, like the second part of Sukkot. So the first Sukkot, he was at our house for the holiday. So obviously my family and everything, his base was one of the bases that were infiltrated. So I had to hurry up and call and see if he was fine with the sirens. Like, literally, we're only talking about the sirens right now. So I had to call him and ask him if everything was okay. And he was in the safe room. And then, like, we didn't have connection, so I had to hang up. And then, like, 10 minutes later, I texted him and I was like, did you hear that they infiltrated? Like, they just entered. And literally from 7:15 in the morning, he did not answer me. And I kept having, like, and because I'm a commander in the military, I had to call my soldiers. I had to make sure they were okay. So that was my whole day, literally trying to figure out if they're fine, and then trying to figure out if he's okay. And because it was the Sabbath, not everyone answers on the Sabbath. So it was calling parents and making sure, And once I saw everything that was going on, and then I was just like, okay, I just started getting dressed. I started putting on my uniform automatically. I'm like, there's no way that they're not calling me. So I was getting ready. And as I was getting ready, I was literally in tears. My heart broke, because I'm like, he's not answering. They infiltrated bases, and now I'm going to be called back to the base. It's like, you can't really understand. It's something that you can't fathom. You can't begin to understand the atrocities that happened that day. And being here on the ground, you're not safe. And we've gotten to the point that we understand no one's really safe. But us being here, we're really not safe. And I can just walk past and walk across the street and be in a problem. Like, when we left, when my mom took me to base, this is after they already told me to come. When we were on the way, like, my heart was literally in, can I curse? Because it was in my ass. I was so fucking scared. Like, we were on the way to base, and I'm just like, I kept looking side to side. We have a lot of Bedouins who live here, and I'm down in the south, so it's so many of them. And I'm like, just what if they come out, and what if they decide to actually stand up? And it was very frustrating, the whole ride here. And then I got here, and I didn't know what to do, because I'm 24 years old. I don't know what a war is. I remember being young and being part of but I didn't know what I had to do. So I was just literally not, I didn't understand what I had to do. I was standing scared if someone might come from one side or anything like that. And then keep trying to call my friend. And I kept asking people, do you guys know anyone from here? I have to get a hold of my friend. And it just kept, and then people started posting, we haven't heard from him. Like, it was literally hundreds of stories. We haven't heard from him. He's not answering. He's just, and then it's like you have to face actually, looking forward to that happening. And I remember turning off my, like, Instagram and not wanting to actually see, because, like, I don't know how to react. And then I started working everything, and only at 8:30 at night is when he called me back. And literally when he called back is when I decided, like, I cried. Like I told you, I cried when I was at home, because I decided, because I had to come back. And then that's when I decided, okay, I have to stop. I have to get it together. I have soldiers. I have to be strong after this. So when I finally got that call is when I broke down. And I literally cursed him out. I'm like, you have to answer. It wasn't his fault that he didn't answer me. They actually had to take him from one place to the other because where he was at his he does patrols. And where he patrolled at he was shot at. He didn't get hit, but where he was, they were shooting at his where he was, and they actually shot an RPG right past him because he got to he hid so that so they didn't really get him. And the person, he started panicking, and the person that came, one of the commanders that came to calm him down, got shot right in his face. He got killed as he was trying to calm him down. So they took him and put him in a safe place. That he was there for like 13 hours. It was really, it was crazy. And I remember this was my first day actually sleeping on base because it's a job. I go home every day, and I couldn't sleep for like a month. I kept reliving the videos that I've seen and thinking maybe like I remember my having nightmares that like I got kidnapped like 5 times. I got killed. Like it was a month that I lost so much weight. I did not eat. I still now like I can barely eat. And I was just very, I don't know how to explain it. I really don't know how to explain it. I feel like we really won't know how we feel until we actually sit down and reflect on what happened, and that it's going to take time because we can't reflect on what happened when it's still going on. It has to get over for us to actually sit and reflect. And I'm very afraid of that. I don't think the human mind can comprehend everything that we saw. Like we saw the videos, we saw everything that happened. We go through it every day, the sirens and stuff, and we just keep going. Like a loop. We're in a loop. It happens, we keep going. Someone died, it keeps going. But it's because we don't have the time to actually reflect on what's going on. And we will all be in a messed up stage when this is over. And that's what's really aggravating because no one really understands. Everyone is really just attacking, and they don't understand that at the end of the day, even though Palestinian children and whatever is going on there, don't disregard what's going on here because it happened. This is what started the whole situation, whether people want to go back to history or not. Because history can tell you that no war in the history we started or we wanted. So it's so much that people decide to disregard or ignore, which is very frustrating. But, I've learned to deal with crazy situations from a young age. So me being 24 and being able to actually speak on it like I do says a lot about my upbringing, to be honest.
Totally. Totally. Well, I just think it's so interesting because I've noticed since I began posting, because I studied this in college. I've been to Israel and Judea and Samaria, or the West Bank, as more people call it. I went there on a trip in college, and then I came back and studied it, and now I kind of follow it for fun. And when the war happened, this is obviously not fun, but I have this kind of depth of knowledge, so I started explaining the history. And what I've learned is the people in America, where I'm from, we have no understanding of what a war is over here, people under the age of 30, because it's so complicated that the way you're explaining, you felt unsafe just for your personal safety, but at the same time you're worried about what's happening with your job, and at the same time you're worried about what's going on with your family, and you don't know where you can go whether or not to feel safe. And then on top of that, if you want to escape and go on social media, everyone's commenting on you saying that you're a terrible person for defending yourself in a war that your people did not start. So it's like I can't fathom how complicated that is for you. And I think it must come down to, in America, we don't have any understanding. Every war we've fought in America, no one has military experience or training, and all of the wars we have fought don't directly impact our family and friends' safety in a way that like our mind can perceive. But you, growing up in Israel, you don't have a choice. Every 2 years there's an uprising, and you don't know whether or not it's gonna put you into a full-on war. It's crazy. I can't fathom what you're dealing with.
I like to explain how frustrating it really is to be here and to go through what you go through. But I also like to put emphasis on the fact that I am very proud of my country. I am very proud of the way we still allow ourselves to remain humane and to actually, like, I've never heard, and I don't think any country or any place in this world will give a second thought to the person that's against us, to our enemy. And the fact that the citizens here obviously are frustrated. They don't want to see that our government is helping the other side, because what the citizens went through is not an easy thing to go through. It's nothing no one should have to go through that. And especially having to go through that and watching your government help the other side, it's much more frustrating. But at the end of the day, the only country that can actually say they remained humane and they didn't lose their humanity is Israel. It's very, and I remember doing a video and I said, what makes you think we should care about the other people? And that was my mistake, because we actually do. I just was frustrated and didn't want to get the comments about, because I'm sorry, like, honestly, I will never be in a situation where so much, and it has nothing to do with being heartless. It has nothing to do with being evil. It has literally nothing to do with any personal feelings that I feel. It's just, I can't possibly take part in a war and think about the other side. Like, when do you have time to think about your family, your friends, your friend that's been kidnapped, your friends that are fighting in Gaza? When do you have time to think about the people you actually care about? Why should I even think twice about, a different person that's definitely they want me to die. They don't want me alive. Anyone who walks in Israel, anyone who is in Israel is not safe, whether you're a Jew or whether you're not a Jew. And we understand that, because some of the people that were kidnapped were people that weren't even from here, and they just came to work, or they just came to a music festival. Like, they literally slaughtered people on camera who weren't even Jews. So it had nothing to do, like, they did it to Jews as well, but it had nothing to do with, they didn't really. I just want the world to wake up and understand that when we say you're next, we actually mean it. Like, no one is safe. The fact that people are sitting comfortable screaming out free Palestine, or they're pro-Palestinian, as if like, how on earth can LGBTQ be for Palestine? And the funniest thing is, I just saw a video of LGBTQ marching for Palestine 3 days ago, and they were attacked by the police officers. Like, they don't even care about you. They hate you more than you. Like, they don't care about, like, they would rather you not stand up for them than to be gay. Like, you're gay, proud to stand up for them, and the first thing they thought wasn't, oh my God, they care about the Palestinians. It was, oh my God, he's gay, he's abomination. Or Black people trying to insert their 2 cents into this situation. Why are you trying to make yourself relevant? They're trying to look for relevance, really. Like, there's no situation in America today that they have to walk out with flags and say Black Lives Matter. So now they want to insert themselves into another situation that has nothing to do with them. How can you compare what you went through? You're literally making yourself look smaller by comparing what you went through to what they're going through. What you went through was damn near close to the Holocaust. Like, if you want to compare it to someone who actually suffered the amount that you suffered, the amount of deaths, the hate. You can't possibly say that you can't possibly compare what the Black African Americans, the Africans, went through when they were sold and killed and hung, to what's going on in Gaza. Like, how is that even possible? Did the African American people, did the Africans go attack America, and then the Americans came and did something back? Like, the stories don't even make sense. You were attacked and you were targeted. Huh?
Interesting. That's really interesting. I've never thought about it that way.
Because you were targeted because you were Black. You were sold because you were Black. You were hung because you were Black. You were less than a person. And Jews, everything that happened to Jews was because they were Jews. What's happening to the people in Gaza today is because on the 7th of October, this has nothing to do with the past. Everyone knows, if they open a history book. I'm a big fan of history. I've always loved history. In school, that was my favorite subject. And I'm a very intelligent person, and not because I sit around and decide that I'm intelligent. I don't speak if I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't allow myself to open my mouth, and especially not to post a video where the whole world can see, if I'm not educated. So when you learn history, when you open a history book and you see what happened from A to B, first of all, the whole Bible is full of Jews. It's full of God's people and being in Israel. This was gifted to the Israeli people. 40 years they couldn't enter as a punishment for praying to. I can give you the whole rundown. Like I'm not the person to talk to me about being uneducated. It's not there. What I don't, and that's why I actually not. If we take away the biblical part, let's say we take away the biblical part, we're in modern day time. We want to talk about today. The only people who so-called legally had rights to this country was the British government. Still not you. And then people are saying they took it from the Palestinians. Then talk to the British government. Don't talk to me.
Well, and then talk to the Ottoman Empire, because the Ottomans didn't give the Palestinians a sovereign state.
Any war, listen, and we all know, we all watch movies, we all know history. When you are at war, if you're winning that war, whatever you choose to take, you can take. We had a small portion of the country. And oh my God, the most frustrating thing is no one looks at the fact that on the map, we're as big as a nickel. We're so small, surrounded only by enemies. And for some reason, we're the problem. When every war we took part in was because the surrounding countries are the ones who attacked us. And then when they attacked us, by the grace of literally, if anyone has God on their side, it is Israel. Because how on earth are you surrounded by so many enemies, but you still win? And you win every war. You decide to take portions of the country, of the land, and then you decide to give it back in exchange for peace. And then when you give it back in exchange for peace, they actually forcefully removed people from the Gaza Strip, Israelis from the Gaza Strip. I have friends that their family lived on fruits and vegetables that they grew on that strip. And when they were forcefully removed, they had to start life from zero. And they gave them that strip. And with that strip, they did nothing but elect a terrorist organization as their government. They don't want peace, and they do not want to live, let's say, happily ever after, or they don't want to live in peace with us. You can't possibly want to when you elect a terrorist organization that in their charter says, their charter from 19 states, that they will kill every Jew, and they will make it as if, Jews don't have nowhere to be, or Jews don't have a right to, like, their whole charter is surrounded by the Jews. Now, if this was a situation between two people, I will literally look at the person and say, you're a hater. You're literally very bitter, and your whole life, is revolved around me. Get a life, But when it comes to a terrorist organization who for some reason has a huge impact on the people in this world, as if they even have a chance. If the Hamas wanted to take over America, they would make a way, and they will do it. If they wanted to take over, their whole thing is to get rid of the Jews and Muslims, because I saw a video about that as well. Their thing is to make the whole world Muslims. How on earth can God how is it three, Jews, Muslims, and help me, Christians, thank you. How do you have three and one feels like they're over, or they're above the other two, and they get to decide that everyone should be like them? What does it matter if I get on my knees and pray, if I pray to the wall, if I pray to Mecca, what does it matter where I pray to? Long as we're praising the same God, why should it matter? Why should that be the reason you fight or you march for the death of other people? As angry as I am that I went through the personal things that I went through, I never called for the death of anyone. Even though my grandma was killed in a suicide bombing, I never called for the death of anyone. It shows who you are as a person. And the fact that you can sit and have a conversation, a civil conversation with someone who's calling for your death, and forgive me, God, the only people I can sit and have a conversation with where I can literally try and, think about strangling is when they threaten my family. Like, it's been a lot of situations where they posted my cousin, who is literally like my favorite person in the world, and they keep, what if I kill him? Excuse me? What if you what? No one really knows the person behind the camera. Lucky for them, I'm behind the camera and not face to face, because no one really knows you. You don't know how I react. You don't know what I'm capable of. You don't know the lengths I would go to make sure that word never comes out your mouth again. And I'm not trying to sound like angry or attack. Like, I'm not trying to attack, but it's just like, people, we're human beings at the end of the day. We should be. And I don't understand what's going on in the world. I wish I did. But like I said, I stand behind my country.
I think you have a right to be angry. Like, this all just happened to you. You have a right to be angry. And that's the annoying thing I don't see people giving the grace to Israelis on. They're saying Israelis made this all happen somehow. This is all their fault. It's not your fault. You didn't go steal anyone's land in 1948. You were born in a country. You grew up in a country. You served your country. You're allowed to defend that country. That's all it is, you know? Mm-hmm. Oh. Mm-hmm.
I think you can't live next to a threat. And that group is constantly threatening to remake or redo that day. Now, what really frustrates me is that the person that did this, the Sinwar, whatever he is, the monkey looking thing, that he fixed his lips to say that the 7th of October was just a rehearsal. First off, like, I feel like it's close to you're playing with people's lives. He doesn't cherish one life, not a Palestinian life, not a Jewish life, because at this moment everyone's fighting and everyone's shouting genocide, that we're committing genocide. The people around the world are standing up for the Palestinian people, which isn't, in my opinion, is not. I have my personal reasons about the Palestinian people. We all saw how innocent they were on the 7th of October, and we all peeped the innocence. But if we're thinking logical at the moment, and we're not getting into the personal or peeping anything, everything that's going on here, their sole purpose should be taking care of their people. Take care of your people. You get so much money. How is it that I've seen so many famous people, they're literally standing on at least $50 million, and still nothing has changed except for the amount of rockets being sent to Israel. Like, go get them food, get them water. You can literally make your own water source with the money you got. You can literally you can fund Israel with food. You can give Israel food with the money you got. Like, you literally have the money to fix their problem at the moment. You have the means to fix Gaza's problems at the moment. But no, you're busy talking to press and telling them that this was just a rehearsal. How does this man even have the right to fix his lips to say something like that? And the world just is silent. It's silent. And if they're not silent, they're justifying what he's saying. And it's funny that someone with those big of a ball, like, you got mass balls if you're talking like that. And if you got mass balls, why are you hiding? Why are your civilians being killed, being slaughtered, why is that happening? Like, why aren't you there? Our government, they didn't flee Israel. They're still here. Why do I have a light? I don't know what that was. But why, like, you can tell the difference between both communities. Our government didn't go anywhere. They're still here in this country. A lot of people say they don't have a defense force. They don't have an army. That's their problem. That's their problem. You had since 19 to raise an army. You can make it if you're making them breathing air like they have to ask permission to breathe air. You can make it mandatory to join the military in Gaza. If they wanted a military, they all voted in a terrorist organization. They chose that. They knew what the charter was. You don't vote no one in without knowing what their charter is. You know what the charter is. For some reason, and it's, a lot of Muslims are like that. They're so, they're hell bent on revenge. If you kill my brother, I'll come and kill your brother. Or if you touch my sister, I'll come and touch your. That's their lifestyle. So that's how it will continue to be if you don't get rid of the root problem. And that problem is Hamas. And I feel like my country shouldn't stop. And they should do exactly what they're doing. And they should do even more in order to take out the root problem. You can't live peacefully. You can never be in peace living next to a threat, a threat that constantly threatens you daily, that they will redo what they did. It just doesn't make sense. And I feel like, and like I said before, I stand 10 toes down behind my country. I don't feel like what my country is doing is wrong. I feel like anything that happened on the 7th of October, if we don't get to those lengths, we're still good. We're not raping your women. We're not slaughtering. We don't even come face to face in the military. We don't even come face to face with children unless they come to the borders or to where we do patrol and start, instigating arguments or instigating little situations. So we don't even come face to face. The fact that you use your people as human shields, that's the problem. And does anyone take a second to understand why would they even need human shields if we weren't humane? Why should that even matter? Why would you need a human shield? Why would you use a human shield if that didn't matter? If Israel weren't pro-life, if Israel didn't see a group of children and stopped. But in some situations, if the highest commander of the Hamas is sitting in a house and they decide to use human shields, we're going to get rid of the highest commander in the Hamas, because you can't do too much to help the other side. We send messages. We actually make it very possible for them to move from one place to the other. But who attacks them? The Hamas. Because where are you going? You're my shield. Where are you leaving to? How would I stay alive if you're leaving? It just doesn't make sense. Like, common sense. Even if I wasn't Israeli, common sense. The fact that they are using children and women, how on earth are we the oppressors? At the end of the day, this whole war, whether you're pro-Israel, pro-Palestine, both should stand up against Hamas, because they're the problem. They're the one attacking us, and they're the ones using them. How do you vote in a group that does nothing for you? They can't even give you food and water with the millions that was raised for you. It just doesn't make sense.
War is so normalized in your part of the world now. Like, it's so, everyone joins the IDF, and these uprisings happen every few years. This one was especially bad. It Israel declared war. It doesn't usually. It usually just counterattacks. Hamas will be rooted out. The Israeli government has continued to say that like they're going to get the hostages back and they are going to root out Hamas, and they're not going to allow this.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Who are we? You know, we're just little people in this situation. Yeah. Okay.
It's just a message of hatred over and over again, I think. And I think one of the most, I mean, if you study history, I study history, one of the worst things when you look at the world religions is Judeo-Christian values value human life and are inherently against revenge. It's not an eye for an eye. And then they claim that Islam is the third coming of those two religions, and it is all about revenge and eye for an eye, and killing is okay, especially with these jihadist groups. So it's insane to me that it's blasphemy in my opinion and heresy, but it can't continue on in this fashion. Like it can't keep going, and Israel has every right to defend itself. And I agree with you, actually. They should probably go harder, you know, but right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I think we got some great stuff. We can wrap up. I will link all of your stuff in the comments. Is there anything you want to promote? Follow her on TikTok, follow her on Instagram. I'm going to have her linked in the comments. Okay.